Well, schools will not reopen until the public heeds to the vaccination calls. Government's remarks today have boiled discussions across sectors, notably the education sector. Tonight, I speak to Mike Kironde, the chairman of Proprietors of Private Education Institutions Association in Uganda. He's also the chairman and owner of Janen Schools. Welcome to PM Edition, Mr. Kironde.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Kironde.
Good evening to you. How are you?
Now, to start off, you have made inquiries on when the education sector shall be reopening. Today, government came out and said the reason for the delay of this reopening is due to public's reluctance towards the vaccination exercise. How have you received this information, this news?
Thank you very much. To start with, I would say that it's not true that we have not engaged into vaccination. We've encouraged all our teachers to go for vaccination, and we've also told our teachers the repercussion when you don't vaccinate. And a huge number of teachers have vaccinated, and even in Kampala, we've run out of vaccination, the medicine. So I don't think that should be our problem. That should be government problem to provide us the medicine. And the teachers are willing, and those majority, 80%, have already done the vaccination. And the areas where we have some challenges, it's still their concern is that the vaccination, the vaccine is not yet there in some of those areas, or they have put them into remote areas and people cannot walk into those places. So it has been a challenge, and to me, I think it shouldn't be the reason why they shouldn't open schools, because teachers have embraced this program.
Well, your organization, the one that you head, has been quite vocal when it comes to matters of reopening the sector, the education sector. Have you had any engagement with government, specifically Ministry of Health, if any, and what has been the outcome?
Yeah, thank you. We've had a couple of meetings with the Minister of Education, but recently, about 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the Minister of Health. And it was a very, very great, very good meeting, and it had good results. That's when we also suggested some ideas, like making special centers for teachers, and the ministry, we're glad, took up that, and we had special centers in every district, and teachers feel good and secure to move into those areas, and then it has worked out. So I think for us as the owners of, proprietors of owners of schools, we've done our part. Just to part all those few, probably it's going to be the problem. We're also not going to allow any person who has not vaccinated. Me, I've already taken my 2 jabs, and all my teachers. So we're just waiting for the government to open up schools. And we're doing that to everyone and to all other colleagues to really do that. So we believe that we've done our part.
Well, government's cardinal duty is to ensure that the lives of its citizens are protected first. Now, as an association, what assurances can you give that these risks that they're seeing can be dealt with?
Thank you so much for that question. I tell you that we've learned through the lessons we had in the second lockdown, and we did and education that there were gaps in all levels. We had gaps into the Ministry of Health, we had gaps in the Ministry of Education, and also we had some gaps with the schools. So if all of us play our part well and gap up all those and fill up those gaps, we'll be able to have safety in our schools. And we believe that if we go back to the system where they say boarding schools stay boarding and they stay day, and then we restrict onto the masks, washing of hands, and social distance in our classes, I believe we could really, really do this. And one of the reasons why things went wrong, the supervision of the schools by the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education weren't done right. So the relaxation was too much, and people thought things are that easy. That's why we are attacked with a second wave, second wave. And I believe we could overcome this by working together. And we are asking Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health to work with us. We the owners of schools or private education command about 61% of all children in the country. So when you work with us in isolation, definitely things will go wrong. But we believe that working with us closely, and we've put in place what is required to ensure that schools should be reopened. And also we're interested in safe reopening, but more importantly, sustainable reopening. We don't want to see opening and then closing, opening and closing. It's going to affect us so much as an industry or a department.
Thank you, Mr. Kironde, for that insightful conversation.